afternoon, wherever you are. It's July 22nd, 2024. Hmm. I've been thinking about this one for a while. You think fake news just started in the last few years? I have an example, I guess, way back, and it's pretty fantastic. No, really. I'm CW, and I'm in the halls of the past, reading and writing among the paper mites throughout the pages of history. I've got a story for you, and you just won't believe it. So imagine, if you will, that you're a common person walking on the streets of a robust city where you overhear that there are two legged beavers on the moon. Say what? Buzz Aldrin never said anything like that. Hell, NASA never even mentioned tracks of any kind. You know, this channel deals mostly with history, so there goes the story. In the past history of the United States, there's been freedom of the press. It's included in the U.S. Constitution as part of the first 10 amendments. We know it as a Bill of Rights. It may be a freedom, but every now and then someone has to pay for it from time to time. So, after you heard about this news from the moon from bystanders, you get a copy of the New York Sun on August 25th, 1835. The newspaper started a six-part series on the astronomical findings of Sir John Herschel. Well, that makes sense. According to Herschel, Accordingly, Herschel completed his studies while in the area of the Cape of Good Hope in Africa. While recording his findings from the multi power telescope, his eyes happened on other weird, out of this world visions. Usually, this periodical, The Sun, it served up some nasty murder stories, violent robberies, great sexy scandals of politicians to tease and entice its readers. Its readers generally were geared middle class, lower immigrants at the time. It was the right price. It was a penny, hence the penny press of the day. So this series went on to record that Herschel's continued studies revealed that there were not just beavers, but they were of great intelligence, and they carried their young like we did in their arms. They didn't only built dams, but they had huts that were taller and better designed and built than any of our human savages on Earth. The Sun became widely read newspaper of the world with a growing circulation of 19,360 following this series. People read about the 4 foot tall men creatures with copper colored hair and wings. Wings. The paper documented the name, I'll try to get this right, Verspertellio homo, or man bat, as declared by Sir Herschel. The English astronomer observed that these creatures appeared to be intelligent as he saw them speaking and conversing and interacting with each other. How did Sir Herschel do all this, you might ask yourself? Well, he used a telescope, like I mentioned, but not just any telescope, one that he created and took from England all the way to South Africa. The instrument he used was great in size. The lens itself was 24 foot in diameter and weighed 7 tons. It should be noted that at this time the lens itself was 6 times heavier than any other lens ever used. So, with this powerful device, it was no wonder that Sir Herschel could spy on other discoveries and on that lunar surface, whatever he could find. He spotted and reported vegetation of all kinds. He saw beaches of white sand and a chain of slender pyramids that dotted the surface. Over in a wooded area, he observed what could be lunar bison, large herds. very brown in color. Nearby in the valleys, he saw one horned goats with bluish faces, and there were small reindeer and even smaller zebras. The newspaper sold out of copies, had to make longer runs because of its demand by the public. Many people believed these events and accounts. Students and their instructors were swallowed up in discussion about this series. Other newspapers, they got in line, started either running the story itself or making similar stories. Missionaries here on earth tried in vain to figure a way out how they could deliver the Holy Scripture, the Bibles, to these man bats on the lunar surface. Did I mention that these man bats could fly? Yeah, they could fly where there was no atmosphere. This fell right in line with the thoughts of, I'm not making this name up, Thomas Dick. He was a Christian philosopher at the time. I'm not sure, I didn't know that much about him, and I don't always trust Wikipedia. But Dick allegedly computed that our solar system, just the one we lived in, not the universe, contained approximately 21.9 trillion inhabitants. I'm not sure if he includes people, animals, other creatures, whales. I don't know. According to him, though, the moon itself housed 4.2 billion. Well, during this time of history, Dick's writings were very popular in the United States. People read articles by him. Heck, even a smart guy like Ralph Waldo Emerson was a fan. Well, sorry to tell you, all these things that John Herschel saw or that were reported by in the Sun, it never happened. I mean, the article did, but the moon hoax was just that.
Freedom of the press.
It was a plot by a British journalist named Richard Adams Locke. He wrote a 6-part series to boost the sales for the Sun, and did so. Though he did not want to admit to the creation of the story, I don't believe until 1840, some 5 years later. Most of the readers who got took by this, they didn't mind being fooled as long as they were entertained, or at least that's what they said. Or they refused to say they were fooled. We all knew that, whatever. This is something that P.T. Barnum would take note of. Yeah, they don't seem to mind as long as they're entertained. At the time, he was parading a black female around as George Washington's nursemaid. That mentioned that George passed away in 1799. Yeah, that would have made her 161 years old. But people would pay the pennies to go in and see. Oh yeah, John Herschel, the father of this discovery, according to the article, real person, and English, and an astronomer, and he was in South Africa at the time of this. He was at first amused by the story because it made it over to Europe, but then became very annoyed when people started asking him about the bipedal beavers that were walking upright. Another person who was somewhat really upset with this run of series, Edgar Allan Poe. Apparently, in June 1835, the edition of the Southern Literature Messenger, Poe had published a story titled The Unparalleled Adventure of One Hans Pfaall. Apparently, Richard Locke was at the time the magazine's editor, according to one source. The story Poe wrote was about a man who flew to the moon in a balloon made out of newspaper. What a great story of a story that wasn't. The story itself is the creation of a story and how gullible people can be. Or maybe they were just tired of the news of the day, the Jacksonian news of the day. I don't know. But you see, the story is the story, or the lack of a story. But you can read from it. People have been stupid for years. And based on our past, this trend and behavior is more likely to continue. If you'd like to read more stuff like this on our society or on our media, see, Kevin Young wrote a book called Bunk, and he kind of explained it, how things have rotated from printed word to television to internet. It's a good book. Yes. But you wouldn't fall for that, would you? Think about it. The internet is supposed to make us more news sources, but anybody can put anything on the web, anything on Wikipedia. Really? Should you trust a random guy on YouTube about history? Maybe not. Pick up a book, read something. That's my whole goal here, is get people, students, more interested. Challenge me. Go find another source. Good source. Okay, well, once again, that's history. It's all in the past. See you tomorrow when we talk about today. Bye.